Well, hello, those who are joining us. We are about to start our second conversation about transforming your life. We have at Christian Fellowship been going on a journey to begin to think differently about how to progress our lives and how to move toward a direction that will give us a peace of mind and a focus that will help us overcome things from the past and to transform our lives to a place to where we can experience life in a much more successful and richer way. Our book that we're using is called Transforming Your Life, and Transforming Your Life is a product that was put together, and it gives us 40 steps, 40 stages or steps that will lead us in a direction that will give us a different perspective on life and to give us a real opportunity to begin to see our lives in a very, very different way. And so as we move toward that direction, we are posting each week through the book, through the time of Lent, what we're sharing in the book and what we're learning overall. And our hope is that as we go through the process of transforming our lives, you will look at your life in 40 days and begin to recognize that you are further toward the direction that you want to be in and not merely stuck in the place that you are right now. So we have about 2 minutes left, and we'll kind of start our discussion today. But as I see questions and things of that nature, what I'll try to do is address those as they come across. This week, the focus of Transforming Your Life has been really on gathering perspectives and turning them around into something that is very, very different from where we've come from before. And so let's get started. First of all, transforming your life is a process. It's not an overnight. It's not a pill that you can take. It's not any of those things. It's a process that will lead you and lead me to a place where I begin to experience life in a very, very different way. And part of it is getting rid of the baggage that have dragged along with me in life all of these years. And all of us have baggage that have become attached to us. And there are 3 hooks in your life that catch things along the way. And some of those things are positive. Some of those things are very, very challenging. Those 3 things we have discussed a little more, and if you're reading the book with us, then you know that those 3 things are our experiences, the influences in our lives, and our history, the things that have been a part of our cultural environment for quite some time. Now, we want to talk about those things specifically today with a good feel for how to begin to assess what is taking place in your life that just dragging on. What have you hooked onto throughout life that have constantly come with you? And even as you try to free yourself, those things tend to still stay there. And they're influencing decisions that you make going forward. They are affecting which friends you choose. They are affecting what steps you take in life. They are affecting things that you are fearful of. And they stand in the way and keep you from progressing well. Well, transforming your life gives us an opportunity to overcome those things. The thing that we really want to talk about today are how we gather perceptions through experiences. Experiences are recorded elements that happen in our lives, and they're recorded from the perspective of who you were at the time when you had the experience. And so therefore, for example, if you were 2 years old, and an event happened to you, let's suppose at 2 years old, a cat scratched you in the face and it scared you to death. Well, that recording has some elements that have your body to warn and trigger you when anything close to that traumatic moment begin to happen again. And so what happens is you begin to gain a perspective. Your thoughts are about what about cats, about whatever it was that created that trauma. And we use cats as an example. And so cats created that trauma. So later on in life, as you're going throughout the course of life, you could hear a meow or a hiss or something like that, and it begins to shape the way you perceive that moment. It could also be that somebody reminds you of that, and you begin to treat that person in a way that affects that because you have built in your memory a way of keeping you from experiencing whatever the tragedy is before. And so the question is, how do you begin to get over that? Because the challenge is trying to get over a haunting experience that have affected you yesterday. It's very difficult simply because it's kind of like getting a virus off a computer. If the virus is on the computer, then it's very difficult to get into the computer without the use of the computer in order to attack the virus. So what you need is an antivirus. You need something that comes outside of the virus, outside of the program, and begins to disrupt the program while it's being developed, and to retrain that way of thinking so that you won't continue to move towards that direction. Our desire in Transforming Your Life is to give you some tools that begin to make that happen. We believe that the Bible addresses every issue, can be achieved by the Holy Spirit, and all things can be achieved by the Holy Spirit. It's truth that transforms your everyday living. And so what we want to do is we want to say that the Bible is a tool that can be used to create the kind of transformation that needs to be transformed. So you got two things happening in your life. You have this experience that is behind the waterline, that's influencing things that I do, people who I connect with, decisions that I make, fears that I have, warnings that I have inside of me, all of those kinds of things. They are built and developed because I've hooked on to something throughout the experience of my life, and it's dragging along every time I try to move forward. Then you have this stuff that God is telling you, this biblical stuff that seems sometimes not even to match with the way I think. It is a way of thinking that's very different from what my experience is. And what you're asking me to do is have enough faith to take a risk, take the risk of grabbing what God has to say and replacing it with what I have always believed have kept me safe throughout all these years. And that is an element called faith that drives us from being committed to what I've always done to being able to take a risk and rewrite my perception that I gathered from some time ago to lead me so that I can be led toward a different place. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about is the way to do that is to have what's called a new social construct. Now, social construct is what's developed over time to help me understand how to make decisions, how to think about things. My perceptions are built off of my social construct. All those things begin to gather me towards that direction. Like, for example, I grew up in the hood. Being one that grew up in the hood, then my social construct has a little bit of the hood in it. So when I see certain things, if I'm driving down the street and I see certain things that are signals from my experience in the hood, then those things tend to stand out. And they influence the way I think. They influence the decisions that I make. They influence the friends that I have. They influence all the things that are ahead of me. And so what I really need to do is I have to consider what made me trust that that experience was so true that it was worth holding on to. In fact, it was worth writing in my notes to self so that every step in life going forward, I believe that truth should govern what I do on a regular basis. Well, in our experience, from the time I was a child all the way growing up, there is no way I could have been accurate in my perception on everything. So the question is, where do I go to get accuracy to remove some of those things that have been so influential in my decisions now? I might have got cheated, out of my money by a tall guy when I was 15 years old. And so therefore, whenever I look at tall guys, I start to think, man, he's probably not all that trustworthy. In fact, when I be like, man, something wrong with him, usually my something wrong with him is that baggage that I'm carrying from yesterday that is making me treat it as truth because it is in my note to self. What I want you to do now is I want you to find a note to self, something that you are holding on to, something that you are committed to, something that is governing your life now that you are using to make decisions. It is your assumptions of people. That is what I think about people without any evidence to know that it's true. It is sometimes the decisions that I make, the thoughts that I make, the thoughts that I hold on to, and the things that I do about people and about things that I know have no evidence of being true, but they're my own biases and perceptions that are leading me toward that direction. Here's my suggestion. My suggestion is that you should probably, as I've done often through Transforming Your Life, begin to take the biblical perspective of that thing. Like, for example, the Bible tells me not to judge a person without knowing them. Well, maybe I am judging a lot of people because I've had past experiences of people who look like them, people who might fit some category. Let's suppose it's race. Let's suppose my perception of somebody is controlled by the experience that I had yesterday with somebody who is the same race as them. Well, I got to ask myself the question, could my perception be so biblically firm that it should be written in my diary of life forever? And should other people be judged and treated based on that? Well, I would think not. So if I want to transform my life, I got to be able to think that my perceptions, the things that I've built in life, may not all be so true. They may not be the facts that I want to write in my note to self, my internal dictionary, so that that definition begins to control everything I'm doing going forward. So I want you to think about yourself. What is one thing that you have in your life that something you learned in the past, some experience in the past, is controlling how you view people, places, things, fears, steps that you need to take forward, all those kinds of things? What in the past is driving those decisions that need to be scratched off of your dictionary or rewritten in your notes to self so that you are no longer held captive to yesterday's experience? What experience might not really be true that's causing me to function in a way that is giving credit to that thing, and really credit is not deserved in that thing? Transforming Your Life will help you and I walk through a process of beginning to eliminate some of those kinds of things. It would be great if I had been raised by Christ and I had been governed by all good people and I've had no experiences. But the truth of the matter is I've had a lot of horrible experiences growing up. I've had a lot of bad situations that have taken place. I have not seen a good model or good models of fatherhood, and I had to be a father. Not seeing good models of being a husband, and I had to be a husband. I did not see all those great things. And so what I did was I drew my own prescriptions on how to guard myself from yesterday's pain. And I've used those prescriptions to treat people in certain ways going forward. I am committed to transforming my life, to becoming more biblical in how I treat other people, becoming more transparent with myself about what notes on my tablet, my personal tablet, need to be rethought and erased so that I can begin to move forward and give a true reflection of what my life should be. I need to be able to remove yesterday's fears because I'm dragging a lot of things that are not harmful to me, but they were harmful yesterday, and they're keeping me from moving forward in the way I should. If you are willing to walk with us in transforming your life, then we invite you to become a part of our journey. This is the second week in our journey. We started March 1st. All you have to do is get a hold of the book, Transforming Your Life. And you can get that at cfbckc.org, our website. That's cfbckc.org. And as we work together to transform our lives through this journey of 40 days up until the resurrection day of this year, or our celebration of resurrection, which is Easter Sunday, then when we get to that place, we would like to be able to say that my notebook has been kind of refreshed, and I have fears that are no longer holding me back, and I have opinions that are now more accurate and precise. I have insight that's helping me make better decisions. I am walking in a pathway to where my life, there's some evidence that my life is being transformed as we go through this process. There are 40 steps that will get you from where you are to where you want to be. And we're inviting you to come on that journey with us. That's cfbckc.org. And I am looking forward to you joining me along that journey. Thank you so much for being a part of our walk today and our thoughts today. And my hope is that you are taking the journey with us so that you can be transformed in 40 days. Thank you.